Hi, everyone. Welcome to the episode 4 of MOV Leaders, a podcast where we celebrate women leaders. As usual, we will remember a women trailblazer before introducing our guest. Today, we are going to talk about Whitney Wolf Herd, the CEO of Bumble. As you all know, they went IPO very recently. She's a 31-year-old billionaire now. But how many of you know she was the co founder of Tinder? After being sexually harassed and ripped off from her co founder title, she sued Tinder and got over 1 million stock as part of the settlement. And later, she founded Bumble, a dating site where women will make the first move. But this idea was heavily criticized, and many were not in favor of this thing. But guess what? Now Bumble is having over 100 billion subscribers, and she boldly went into IPO path now. She is one of the youngest billionaire, that too as a women leader. She faced lot of harassment, resistance, biases, and many more. But she weaved her own successful path. Today, we are going to meet one such great professional whom I know personally, who took calculated smart risk and invested her career in startup like Freshworks. And she is having a great career trajectory. Now she is the director marketing for Freshworks, customer director marketing for Freshworks. Welcoming Shri to the show.
Hi, Sandhya.
Hi, Shri. Welcome to the show. Thank you for sparing your time for us. You were having donning lot of hats in your professional career. I have seen you ride from various roles across different companies, and that too, you have a great career trajectory in startup. So we are very excited to know about your journey from your side.
First of all, thank you for having me on this series. It's a pleasure being there, and it's fun to be talking to you on this episode. So, thank you for having me on the show. Thanks a lot.
My pleasure. So let us hear about your journey, Shri.
Sure. I'll maybe just give an overview of how it all started, right? So I was an engineering professional, got into a software coding and support job at Cognizant. So I did it for almost 1.5 years. I think all of us would have done it at some point or the other. We were an engineer. And I think, 1 year into the role, I sort of realized that this is something that I'm not enjoying. And I knew that I wanted to do something else, but it isn't easy, like in a large setup, let's say like a Cognizant or TCS, where things are extremely defined and you know exactly what you need to be doing, and you do it for a repeated number of times. But I did try, give it a shot, was relentless while doing my current role at that point. I was always passionate about analytics as a space, and it was sort of the rising space at that point in time, and of course even now. So I somehow wanted to get a breakthrough and move into the analytics space within Cognizant. So I managed to sort of do a lot of free assignments for a lot of managers, reached out to multiple people, and volunteered to work on something even without being part of the team. So finally was successful to move into an analytics role. So I think that's how my whole journey started, at least broke off from the regular software job that I wasn't interested in back then. And I think a year and a half through that, I sort of figured that a management degree could sort of help me hone my skills better and make me or accelerate rather my trajectory towards better roles. So I went on to do my MBA in Indian School of Business, post which I joined, that's where sort of my startup stint kind of started. So joined this company called Capillary Technologies. They're a retail point of sales software, and they're a SaaS product as well. So that's where my SaaS stint and my startup stint sort of started. So I was doing more BD and analytics consulting at that firm, and was there for a brief bit. Then I thought I had to go in depth into analytics, so I went on to working at eBay, specifically for their subsidiary called StubHub, which is an American entity. So I was doing a lot of seller and buyer analytics for eBay and StubHub. And then that's when sort of Freshworks happened. And then I took that leap and wanted to be in a true SaaS product company. And it was there was a lot of buzz around it already in terms of how well they're doing in Chennai. So that's when I moved into Freshworks. And there was no looking back after that. So I was an avid switcher before Freshworks, but now I think, so it's been over 5 years, and it's been a great journey here at Freshworks, and done multiple roles, joined in as part of the CEO's office and taking up org level initiatives. For instance, the whole rebranding project, or when we had to do a large level pricing change across for one of our biggest products, and setting up customer success as a function and helping the leaders scale. And then moving full time into customer success. I think through the journey, I sort of realized that I'm completely, if there's one thing that I enjoy, I think it's seeing customers happy. So that's sort of what has defined my career trajectory, or any role that I've taken up. So that's why the whole move of customer success, and that's when we realized there was a need for marketing for existing customers, and then customer marketing happened. So that's like a journey in short.
That's a great journey. We anybody can dream of. So I always admire you for taking that right move to invest your career in startup. That to right from Cognizant, eBay kind of companies when you worked. You chose to come to a startup and try your best, so that that you can have your own. If you do well and the company do well, obviously you will have a great career path. But there is a lot of risk element also towards it. So how do you see this? Someone taking a chance in startup. What is your view on that, and how it is going to help their career path?
See, I think, like I said, I think there is no one better than the other. Enterprise company has its own benefits to offer, and a startup has its own benefits to offer. Personally, I'm more, because I've tried both, I'm more inclined to that. So I think first thing is, unless you try, you wouldn't know. So had I been there doing the same thing, I would never even experience what it is like to work at a startup. So even when I was at Capillary, before Freshworks, and obviously at Freshworks as well, I think the one thing that's completely different is about executing in ambiguity. So when you are at an enterprise company, you literally have clarity of what you have to deliver every hour. You
Correct.
exactly know, and then you don't do new things every day. You get a depth or skill into the same thing that you do over a period of time. Versus, I think, again, it's a personal preference of how somebody would want to work. But I think in a startup, both of us are aware, I think goals keep changing every now and then. And if it's a fast growing company, then of course the goals change, and so do the goals for people in the company change. So I think executing in ambiguity, and I think that gives an opportunity for you to be exposed to a lot of things in the same period of time, versus being in an enterprise company where things do happen in a very structured manner. So for instance, the kind of visibility that we get, even if we are not directly involved in doing something, and the kind of information and learning we're exposed to, I think is just at a very different level when you look at it in a startup. So I think if you are someone who enjoys always looking out for change, always up for and I know you are also someone like that. So I think as long as you enjoy being in ambiguity, you enjoy taking on a more, and like you said, you take up calculated risks throughout the work that you do here as well. So that way I feel there are a lot more benefits of being in a startup. One is, in a short period of time you get to learn a lot more things, and the best part is, once you get yourself exposed to a lot of different things, you also figure out which area of interest is personally is about playing to your strengths,
Correct.
right?
Exactly.
Then you can choose to go deep into that. So for instance, I think because I've done so many shorter projects, I've been exposed to so many things, I sort of realized that customer is the thing for me. CX is what I'm most interested in. So I think that way it gives you a unique opportunity to expose and try and test different things, to learn what you love, and then do that.
I completely agree with you. If I have to share my thoughts on this, for me it is slightly different. Even in big companies like Redington, for me the function I always start will be like a startup within that company. So the function will be completely new and nobody will be aware of it. And I always enjoy. That's why in Freshworks also I picked up ISV marketing, which is completely a new thing. So always building something from the scratch is all many of us enjoy, I guess, especially women are known for that, right? We try to build things, we try to nurture things, we try to live in ambiguity and even be happy, and we'll try to nurture everybody. That's why I see even you like keeping customers happy and you're towards customer experience. I This is my opinion though. But slightly driving the conversation towards last time when I met Nivedita, we specifically discussed about women challenges or opportunities in tech workplace. Meeting you, I wanted to steer this discussion more towards the opportunities and the culture benefit women are having in startups. How do you see women in startups, essentially?
So I think, see, couple of points that you already mentioned, right? One is, I think genetically we are made to live in ambiguity and sort of simplify complex things, if I may put it that way, right? Be it in regular life or whatever. Like, it's not only about the work that we do at office. So I think we are sort of more experienced that way to one, multitask,
Correct.
two, to also simplify things for ourselves and for people around us. So I think that way, it gives women a unique, rather they can play to that strength of theirs, and startups require exactly that, right? You've got to absorb what's going on and really be agile to make changes. And one, you adapt to it, and at the same time, if you're in a leadership role, then how do you drive your team members so they get what's happening? At the same time, you're not driving them away from focusing on their work, right? So I think that way, the fact that genetically we are sort of more trained to multitask, and the fact that we always are known for simplifying complex things, that gives, I think, women, especially more so in leadership roles at startups, to play to their strengths and always be great leaders. So that's something that I think, how women play a great role in startups. And I think, even in terms of the point that you said, where nurturing people is always something that women love doing. And I think at a startup, it's extremely important for just like the points that I mentioned. I mean, when I joined in, I really didn't know where I'll end up, right? Like, I was doing a whole lot of things, but thankfully, with all the bosses and mentors that I had, they gave me the space to experiment and try and test multiple things before I could realize that I'm good at something.
Correct.
So I think, with women, all the more empowering team members, becomes much more easier, and giving them that space to, figure out what their strengths are, and, giving them that room. I think women are better equipped to do that too, usually. So that's where I see, I think, three areas where women, specifically in leadership roles, are, always great at startups.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I also always think in a startup culture, fast we can adapt, and diversity can play better role in startups than we infuse that in traditional companies. But to my shock, I read a report where it says only 22% of female workforce are there in startups, which was a shocker to me because I always think that compared to traditional companies, startups can adapt fast and they can even better encourage diversity. But why do you think that the numbers are not so great, if the diversity in startup, especially according to you?
See, I think now gone are the days where people are not preferring to hire women. I think every company is trying to see how they increase diversity. And in fact, within our own team, I know we have more women than men. So I think pretty much that's the scenario. But I feel the problem is also in terms of creating awareness among women, to help them understand what working at a startup is like, and how it helps them play to their strengths, and how they can be great at doing something like that. So I think in most cases it is about them taking that leap and trying it out, and sort of being there, and understanding themselves that they are great at it. So I feel like maybe larger initiatives to drive awareness among women itself, and one of them is maybe something like what you're doing now, where people do understand that it is maybe they have their own inhibitions about startups, or how work may be hectic, and maybe they don't have a great work life balance and so on. So I think these days it's at least in most cases not more about the companies, but it's more about women coming in to take up such opportunities itself. So that's where I feel maybe more awareness can help increase those numbers at a global level.
I'm sure
And
this. Yeah, go on, go
I
on.
don't disagree with the fact that, see, I'm generalizing it here, but yeah, there may be companies who are with whatever inhibitions they have about women, maybe they're not giving them enough opportunity. That may be the case, but most cases I do see that a lot of companies are taking an effort to increase their diversity rates. So for instance, even in larger companies, and I'm talking about like great MNCs, right? I've heard of cases where, like, on-site opportunities, generally people prefer
Men.
men to go there because it's easy for them to manage. And so there've been all these small things that sort of happen across. But I think in startups, at least in today's day and age, I do see that companies are making it a point to get more women into the ecosystem.
I agree with you, Yashasri. In fact, you mentioned, right, in our own company, they are taking a lot of initiatives for that. I keep mentioning a lot of good and great initiatives by Freshworks to promote diversity. And as you rightly said, at least in our growth and marketing organization, I see there's equal, participation already, and slightly better, even if I wanted to call out. You have seen Freshworks right from a startup to scale up stage, right, Yashasri? This is something I actually really wanted to personally ask someone who has seen the journey of Freshworks. I always admire Freshworks, how seriously they are taking women diversity, leadership role at each team, manager level, everything. But when they were startup, how was it? From the beginning, this thinking of diversity was there, or it's a recent one?
See, from when I've joined in, I have always been around very, very passionate, ambitious, driven people at Freshworks. So, I mean, I still remember some of the, faint memories that I have. I like two instances, right? So there was someone in our HR team, who's been a long timer, and she was pregnant, and she came to office till the last day. Literally, she was there till 8 p.m. in the night, and the next morning she went to the hospital, right? And all of us kept asking her, why don't you just sit at home, right? But the one point that she said that she felt much safer with all the people around, and she really didn't see the need to sit at home with just one person at home. And she said, here I have a whole army, right? So I think that's one of the memories, and that's when it struck me that I mean, all the earlier perceptions that I had about, oh, is career going to take a halt if you plan a family, and like a lot of those things changed for me when I saw her. And yet another product manager, Smriti, she was there with us still a long time, right? So I think again there she conceived, came back, had a baby, came back, and got promoted immediately after coming back. She actually launched a product sitting at home. So I
Wow.
think it was always these kind of things that happened, especially at Freshworks. So I think in the company, pretty much there was not even a need to sort of bring out aspects like diversity and so on, because it was by default
It
inclusive,
was
right? So, and it was always something like that. There was really no like bias or anything around women. In fact, that thought never came because everybody were treated the same. So
I could, I'm repeating maybe this. I was able to relate the story because I was working till the last day of my delivery. The same story that I left from office and directly got admitted in hospital. Same way, everybody will be so caring in my previous organization, and they used to ask me to go and take off. But I always say that I feel very safe here, comfortable here, and I'm not at least getting the fear of going to deliver a baby or nothing. I'm not even thinking about it. I'm feeling like a family. So I wanted to be in office. This is a safe place for me. I also say that. So yeah, workplace culture plays a major role. I completely agree with you, Esashri, on that. Um, Especially one more point you mentioned, right? Women in startups, or anybody in startup. If it clicks, you will hit the leadership position fast. But I have a question to you. Have you personally noticed, since you have experimented your career across enterprise companies as well as in startups, is there any difference in leadership position, responsibilities in startup compared to enterprise? Have you observed any difference?
See, I think I would say potentially as a leader across responsibilities and the kind of ownership that you have to take, it's different, but it's unique in its own way. So in an enterprise company, I think it's more about like I mentioned earlier, about structure and about having the processes, ensuring that you're providing the right resources to your team, and making sure that they're well trained at what they do, and uh, coach them to keep doing the same thing till they own the skill and become experts at that. And of course, in terms of delivering org level goals, maybe the difference comes in how you break those down in very, very structured manner and literally break it down for exactly what each person has to do to get there. Versus, I think in a startup, it is a lot more about emotions as well. I think people invest a lot more time, and they have the connect with the company. So I
Mm,
think as a leader, it's important, like I mentioned earlier, for you to understand whether each of your team members are playing to their strengths. So
correct.
the difference is, in an enterprise company, you are most of the times hired for what you're always good at, versus in a startup, it's a constant journey because the company is also doing everything for the first time. And hence,
Correct.
maybe you've done it in a different setup, but you're doing it here for the first time, right? So I think a lot of in a lot of cases, you're always learning on the job in a startup. So I think there, as a leader, you will have to have a lot more room for experimentation and error and trial and test, and quickly being agile and giving that space for your team members to learn on the job, discover what they're good at, and then coach them in the right path. So they cannot be black and white, goal distribution and exactly what you want to ask them to do. That kills the creativity and maybe something that they could go extra mile and achieve. So that, I would feel, is the fundamental difference.
Great. So this is a personal question about you, Esashri. In your whole career, have you ever experienced any gender bias or stereotyping, or have you seen any of your close colleagues or friends going through that?
See, I think personally, not so much. Touch wood. I think personally, not so much. Like I said, yeah, maybe like very early on, like I said, um, there were specific cases where I could have been chosen for an international stint,
Mm,
but it did not happen. Maybe because it was more complex to, because it was an area where you'll had to stay alone, and the company was worried that it shouldn't be somebody who's a girl. So yeah, obviously that sort of made me feel bad, right? That was I mean, I was ready to take it up. I was ready to take that risk and go, but it didn't happen for whatever reason. So I think, yeah, couple of times here and there. And I think the one thing that I have seen, at least in my previous stints, it's in Freshworks, it's very different, but I think, like, excluding from social gatherings, right? Usually what happens is sort of outside of work, men prefer to be on their own, and like they I've seen it in a few cases where maybe it's not like they don't want you to be part of it, but maybe by default they assume that you
you will
don't enjoy such things and they keep you aside, right? So those, I mean, those are some small things. Of course, have I heard of people experiencing something? Yes. uh, a lot of them I'm privy to, where you know it comes about like who gets promoted first, if it's the same role, and if it's a woman and a man. And I've heard it from friends across different companies. So it does exist, and I am not saying that it doesn't exist, because every day we are hearing something or the other on these lines. So it does exist. uh, but yeah, I think in my case it has been very less.
One
I
of
won't say never, but
Yeah,
less.
one of the reason could be, as you rightly said, the startup culture, fast adaptive culture. Usually, the new age technology companies are understanding the need of inclusion, diversity, and they know having equal men and women in the workforce actually increase the productivity. That's the
Right.
reason the 22% was still a shocker to me, but I'm still assuming that this will change, and we will have a better future, because Freshworks themselves is an example for that. So, what is your vision for women in startup, Asashri?
I think, see, first thing is, like I mentioned, right, they are very well suited for leadership roles in startups. There's no doubt about that. But I think the journey is pretty much the same for whether it's a man or a woman, right? So the vision obviously is to, wear larger hats, take larger responsibility, and sort of um, own a big part of what the company is responsible for doing, and so on. But I think the journey that it takes to get there is same whether it is a male or a female. I don't see a lot of difference. I feel fundamentally, when you're in a startup, I think it's extremely important to have the right mentor. If your boss is your mentor, then you're extremely lucky. But even otherwise, I think it's extremely important to have a boss who empowers women, and who strongly sort of, at least, it's not about giving more opportunity, it's just about giving equal opportunity, and crediting them for what they truly deserve. So I think one is finding a mentor who will really uh, guide you, and ensure that you're taking the right path and you're doing the right things. Second is, I think, delegating as much as possible. So I still remember in one of my first, manager roles at Capillary, 3 months into the job. So I had an 8-member team, and all of them were smart, analysts and IIT grads. And I mean, hardly, like, it took me 15 days to explain what they had to do, and they were doing a great job, and like clients were happy, everything was going well. Then I just went to my boss and asked him, hey, what is my job? Like, I haven't done a single analysis in the last 6 months. Everybody is doing everything well. So what is it that I'm really doing, right? So that's when he sort of explained to me that as you grow, the quicker you delegate, the quicker you free yourself up and ensure that you empower the team and they do it, the faster you grow. And of course, keeping in mind that you are also learning what is needed to be done. And at any point in time, you should be able to take up somebody in your team's job and do it yourself.
Correct.
That's when the true growth comes, instead of just jumping roles. So I think delegation is the second aspect. Find a mentor, and then ensure that as quickly as possible you're sharing your learning and you're delegating, so you free yourself up. And I think third most important thing is ask for more. I think a lot of people, I mean, earlier, again, it was the case with me also, where I would shy away from really going and asking for what I want. Like in that scenario where I said I wanted to be considered for the international stint, had I maybe asked, I would have got it, right?
Got
So, but I didn't. So I think, like, speaking up and asking and expressing your opinion firmly, I think that matters. So yeah, I think these three things pretty much, like, I would say, these will definitely help accelerating growth to a leadership role, be it a man or a woman in a startup.
That's a great insight, Ashish. You are very you have put it nicely in the end, right? You sometimes you need to express what you want. You cannot expect everybody is listening to you or understanding you, or they know what you want, and you will not. You should not feel bad that your needs are not addressed when you're not expressing it rightly. I'm completely in agreement with you on that part. Something I'm more fascinated about your role is customer marketing is a very unique thing, right? It's very different from other marketing, and it's completely a different ball game. So how is it different, and how this journey? Because I know you are the one who built this function from the scratch. So how do you see this vertical in marketing, and what is your view on this essentially?
I think, like you rightly said, yes, it is very different from other marketing. Typically, if you think about marketing, everybody is always focusing about getting in new customers, increasing brand awareness. You do these large campaigns, and you attract more customers, you increase awareness for your brand. But I think um, everybody's been talking about getting in new customers is fine, but what really happens after they become a customer. And today, with this, especially in the whole startup ecosystem, and basically in more so in the subscription world, retention is the key to success and profitability, right? So I think that is where sort of the need comes in for you to take care of your existing customers.
Correct.
So while marketing may be like the outer word, I look at it as customer engagement. So you need not market to an existing customer, right? So you drive adoption programs to ensure that they're getting the most out of the product that they're already using. And you see that they're happy with what they're using, and sort of convert them into advocates, and that will automatically seed your growth aspect into the whole equation, where somebody is using something and they already like it. Either they're likely to refer you to somebody else, or they're likely to help you close another deal, or they're likely to buy more from you if you offer more products or more services. So I think uh, the way the whole customer marketing piece is very different from the other, the usual marketing that we do for prospects. Is It's more about engagement and communicating to them how they can make better use of the products that they already have, versus this whole top of the funnel content where you still keep talking about how you are better than your competitors. So
Correct.
here's someone who's already using your product, understanding what their needs are, how do you make them successful over and above your product in that specific domain. I think it's a lot more uh, I would say it's not something that a marketing team can do in a silo by themselves. It involves more of collaboration with customer facing teams such as account management and customer success, and really enabling them to use the sort of collateral you've built, or the marketing programs that you have, and really help them drive that. So I think it's a lot more personal and a lot more one-on-one compared to a lot of other marketing activities that we do on the prospect side.
As
And if
you
done right, I think pretty much we all know that net expansion rate for a SaaS company is everything. So
mm,
if really done right, you're literally spending zero, and you start to see this huge growth engine set up for you as a company.
I completely agree with you. In fact, more than retention, turning them to your advocates, right? It's very tough job. I have seen Freshworks coming up with a lot of testimonials, and your team is making an amazing uh, revolution, I would call it as, because a lot of customer case studies, world class testimonials, we see many more. So kudos to your team, especially. I'm personally looking forward to learn and work with you more on that space, because from partner marketing, even I'm more keen on customer success. We also wanted to contribute, and I know how important this function is. Before wrapping up the session, it was really insightful to have a lighter side of yours. A couple of rapid fire questions for you, Asashri.
Okay.
So, one thing you love doing in the lockdown?
uh, Not having to dress up, or rather having my own not having my own time to get ready. So you can get started with work literally just with a coffee, and get started like work at all times. So yeah.
So that's good. Good thing to know. Many of us don't think about like what to wear for offices. I on the other side, maybe I wanted to go back to office, so I didn't enjoy doing that. But anyway, good to hear that from your side. Given a choice, one historic personality you can meet over a coffee. So who will be that historic personality?
I wouldn't say historic, but maybe somebody who's living today, probably Indra Nooyi, someone who I really admire. Yeah.
That combines my next question, because I was about to ask that women leader who you look up to in this field. Okay, I'll ask a different question then. The one hobby you wanted to spend more time on it, what would be that?
Okay, so I am passionate about beauty and fashion. So I have my own blog.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do have time to I have free time work. Time probably spend time on that.
That's an interesting thing to know, Sashri. I never know that you're so interested in fashion and this thing. Surely I will subscribe to that blog and see for sure. Offline I'll get the link from you. Um, on the final question, how did you enjoyed MOV Leaders? If you wanted to rate the show, you would have already seen a couple of episodes which got aired already. How will you rate between 1 to 5?
5. 5.
That's so sweet.
No, I think it's a great initiative. See, oftentimes I think like people think podcasts are all about talking to somebody who are like leaders at large companies, and really talking to somebody at very high positions. I think pretty much, like, if you realize, all of us learn more from people around us
Correct.
than people who we cannot really relate ourselves to, or somebody who's completely ahead in the game. So I think it's nice to just have conversations with people like us and hear from them and how they are thinking about things. So yeah, that's why.
Thank you, Sri, once again for coming into the show. We really enjoyed. I'm sure the audience will also enjoy the insights. The same episode will be available on all your podcast streaming platforms too. Till I meet you all next week with one another exciting guest. This is Cynthia Balasingh signing off from all of you. Thank you, Sri, once again.
Thank you, Sandhya. Bye bye.